To Sama Sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Alahadi Sanmya Sanputoshe.
Namo sadango suchedoye alahadi samyao sambuddhoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. All right, appreciate the Dharma request, Cliff. Welcome, everyone. Today is Sunday, May 19th, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland. My name is Heng, and we're about to launch into the Flower Garland Sutra's Ru Fa Jie Pin, entering the Dharma Realm chapter 39, called the Ganda Vyuha, which is the story of relationships between teachers and students. We're going to emphasize that today and from now on, because that is truly one of the spotlights of this sutra, is how the Dharma gets passed on from teacher to student, and ideally from the sutra to us. We're in the position of the students. So let's proceed. We've got an opportunity to invoke spiritual presence, invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly and the gods and dragons, an eightfold pantheon of spiritual Dharma protectors to come as well. Here we go. Namo Da Fang Guang Shou A Yin Jing Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Shou A Yin Jing Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo A Yin Jing Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fu A Yin Jing Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang A Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang A Yin Jing Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa. Last time. Namo Da Fang Guang A Yin Jing Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa. You can experience a 12-string guitar sounding like a harpsichord with those lovely 12 strings. Moving on here to the acknowledgement of country. We respectfully acknowledge the Kombu-Meri people of the Ugambi language region as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where our monastery is located. We pay respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. Let's put that right in the middle. There we are. All right, and this as well. Here we go. That is to say,我们恭敬地承认有冈贝语族的孔布马里人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事和守护人。 我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。And we got an actual bell here for the bell song. The bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000界内佛法扬万亿国中，贡献启发界和平，利益报他诺后德。Done. Okay, the protocols are complete. Here we go. I can tell I'm aging because with all the rain, putting my left knee into full lotus goes, as it finds its spot. My bones are getting kind of achy, says the old guy. Kids, get off my lawn. Right, okay, here we go. Now, what I mentioned at the start was something special today, which is we are, those of you who've been following along with our steady progress into chapter 39 will know that we have found the first of 52 teachers, the second, if Manjushri is the first, the second of 52 teachers. And a pattern is going to be established in this first encounter between Sudana, our hero, our pilgrim, and a Buddhist monk, whose name is Do Yun. Let's see, Bhadramegha, I think is Sanskrit name. And he is, he's just the first one, but as we go through, we're going to see, as we meet all the teachers, that the teachers are kind of interchangeable in their order. He could be number 50. He could be number 20. He's number 1, number 2, that is. And the things that he shares with Sudana are an example. He's a, what do you say? He represents all the rest in the way that the Dharma is transmitted. And this is the key that I really want to hit today, because we're going to be saying this over and over again, which is what? We're in what's called the Mahayana. This is the northern tradition. In the Mahayana, you know what gets emphasized over and over and over? Relationships. Relationships. Why is that important? People get the idea that Buddhism is somehow some lonely, isolated, solipsistic sort of individual experience seeking nirvana so you can get out. Not what the sutra teaches. I won't say it all. Yes, there is that. There's this wish to end suffering, but you do it completely enclosed in your social network, in your set of relationships, and all of the things that implies, like gratitude for the kindness given to you, and the sense of belonging to everyone, and a sense of sharing the earth and the air and the fire and the water. And along with that sharing comes responsibility. If you know that the people you care about are going to be breathing the air that you send out into the world, you're going to not just the physical air, but take responsibility for the, you could say, the spiritual air, is that the word we want to use? what's in the atmosphere, that is to say. What am I talking about? Maybe you'll remember, it could have been today, this morning. What was the atmosphere around the breakfast table? Was it cheerful? Was it joyful? Was it lonely? Was it tense? Was it anxious? Was it just kind of cold and off-putting? Who's responsible for the atmosphere around the breakfast table? Well, the people sitting around the table and their attitudes, their moods, their states of mind. And that is absolutely true at lunch, it's true at work, it's true on the team, it's true in the orchestra, it's true online, it's true at dinner. Just anybody who has ever sat down on a subway car and had some shady individual come in who is putting out bad vibes. You know what I'm talking about. All it takes is one person to kind of stomp through the subway car with a negative attitude to put everybody's shoulders go up because you feel a threat, you feel danger. We are on each other's radar, and the Avatamsaka Sutra talks about how a bodhisattva, in the midst of that reality of relationships, uses his or her mind to transform negativity to positivity, to transform pessimism to optimism, to transform a kind of alienation to determination, to the Bodhi resolve, the sense of, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to wake everybody up. Just how to do that, how to do it, one thought at a time. So once we wake up to that's what's going on, and I'm going to prove it to you today beyond any shadow of a doubt, because why? The sutra over and over and over again praises teachers. Shan, Zhi, Kalyana Mitra, good and wise advisor, spiritual friends. We've been working with that Sanskrit word, Kalyana Mitra, wholesome friends in a spiritual sense. This is important, says the Avatamsaka Sutra over and over again. So the sutra preaches it from the point of view of the student, but I want to make sure that we see that, but then flip it around and look at it from the point of view of the teacher. That relationship is really, really key here. And it's like, oh yeah, I never thought of that before. But that's really true, isn't it? In the Mahayana, we're concerned about who we are amidst other living beings. And the bodhisattva can be some super agent, can be some superhero, kind of like a Marvel Comics kind of Batman, Green Hornet, the Flash, etc. That kind of Captain America kind of person. But more importantly, the bodhisattva is somebody who simply wakes up to their effect on all beings around them in thought after thought, in word after word, in deed after deed. And then, because of that awareness, goes out and makes every thought and word and deed wholesome and effective and responsible and virtuous, right? It doesn't have to be somebody who can fly or somebody who has, like Hawkeye, has a magic arrow, never misses with his bow. It just can be somebody who never misses with their next thought, who makes a vow to cut out all four-letter words from their vocabulary, and somebody who understands the responsibility at the breakfast table for sending out kindness, gratitude, generosity, selflessness, sharing, interest in others, etc., etc. That's the superhero of the Bodhisattva in our Mahayana text. All right, so that's our preamble. It's relationships. Another example, I keep teasing everybody. One more. there's another, when people are kind of get a sense, oh, the Mahayanas, the Bodhisattva is interesting, that's somebody who is free, they can do anything they want and there's no karma. They can kill if they need to, because that's, their wisdom tells them that's they can do that and they're free of karma. Wrong, not that. The Bodhisattva path taught in the Avatamsaka Sutra starts with personal virtue. It starts with behavior that is based on harmlessness, ahimsa. It's not the case that, oh, you're a big bodhisattva, so you can drink, you can eat meat, you can swear and kill because you're pure already just by the title of bodhisattva. Not that at all. It's that bodhisattvas, in everything they do, they base their words, their deeds, their actions on harmlessness, this idea of ahimsa. Confusing? No, it's not. The golden rule. Who doesn't know the golden rule? If you don't want it done to you, don't do it to somebody else. The things that you enjoy, do those things with others. That's ahimsa. You always act with the thought of generations to come and how your action will impact their lives. That's the bodhisattva. What is that? Relationships. How come you don't kill? Because the person you kill is connected to you. How come you don't steal? Because if you steal, you understand that you're depriving somebody just like you of things they need. How come you don't cheat on your relationships? You're not adulterous, you're not promiscuous. It's because you wouldn't want that to happen to people you are related to. How come you don't lie? It's because every act of false speech goes out into society and creates negativity, creates bad vibes. How come you don't intoxicate yourself? Because clearly that's the opposite of wisdom, right? So those first four in particular are things that the bodhisattva restrains because he or she understands the impact of those things on their relationships. Now that's suddenly like, that's a different way of looking at Buddhism, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's not sitting under a tree waiting for nirvana to somehow happen to you. And you're out, I'm gone, I'm free of birth and death. Maybe that's a motive at some point, but once you step into the northern tradition called the Great Vehicle, the Mahayana, then suddenly we are connected to all beings from that point. And once you make the Bodhi resolve, oh my goodness, start looking for good teachers, then it all opens up. And the sutra becomes this map for the territory that goes all the way to Bodhi. Enough of my preaching. Stop me before I preach again, right? Here we go. Here is today. This is Bhikshu Doyun, his name is, Cloud of Virtue. And we're going to read this first paragraph. You're all welcome to read with me. I'll make it nice and big here so you can see it. Okay. I'm going to put my palms together and go slowly through the Chinese. Please join me. Here we go. 善男子，我得自在决定解力，信言清净，智光照耀，普观境界，离一切障，善巧观察，普眼明彻。具清净横，妄益十方一切国度，恭敬供养一切诸佛，常念一切诸佛如来，总持一切诸佛正法，常见一切十方诸佛。Okay, there we go. We did a paragraph. Now, what is it? We're reading the words of a bhikshu whose name is Duyun, Cloud of Virtues. Virtues, probably, virtues, plural. And we get to put his words into our mouths, into our minds. Here we go. Good man, I have attained a sovereign, decisive power of understanding. My eye of faith is pure. My wisdom light is radiant. I regard all states everywhere, and I've left behind obstructions. I can contemplate with skill. My universal vision is lucid and bright. I'm replete with pure conduct. I can travel to the countries of the 10 directions, revere and make offerings to the Buddhas in them. I am ever mindful of the Buddhas, thus come ones. I can unite and uphold their proper Dharma and constantly envision the Buddhas of the 10 directions. Okay. Now, we first met him just 2 weeks ago, Bhikshu Cloud of Virtue. And I said that we're going to see a pattern in this visit that is pretty much interchangeable with the next 50, because it's the same series of events. What happens? Sudana has been sent here by his teacher, the previous teacher, who in this case is Manjushri. What does he do? Sudana stares at him, is thrilled to be kind of charged with the next phase, kind of like Mission Impossible, should you choose to accept this mission. This instruction will vanish and will self-destruct in 10 seconds. So he gets the mission, and he's overwhelmed with happiness at getting an answer to his question, how do I cultivate the Bodhisattva path? He's going to say goodbye. He bows to the feet of the teacher, makes prostrations. He circles around him with his palms together, his right shoulder bare, and looks up at him with longing admiration. Because why? Manjushri is awesome. Manjushri is this incredible, once-in-a-lifetime, if you're lucky, teacher. And then he cries, says goodbye, and goes south. That's the pattern. So that's the first time we've met it, but this happens over and over again. What I notice is the humanity demonstrated here of Sudana. He's emotional. He's just met his teacher, and now he's got to go. So, goodbye. I'll do what you say. I'm a good student. I'm going to follow instructions and go south. Now, south is the in the 5 elements or the 4 elements, depending on which system you follow. It's the direction of spring. It's the color green. It's the new renewal, the new year. It follows winter, and it precedes summer. So he's going south. He is the new hope He's the new hope of the Dharma. He's going to carry the Dharma forward after he realizes Buddhahood. So south is the direction. Buddhas face south in the Mahayana. They sit with their backs to the north, and so that's the way Buddhas are set up. If you can arrange the feng shui the way you want it. So Sudana goes out, and we talked about this last time. He really travels. He goes. We mentioned last time that he has got his backpack. He's got his tent. He's got his sleeping bag pad and his sleeping bag. Probably got a sleeping bag liner. He's got a couple pairs of socks. He's got Blistex in case he gets blisters on his heels from his new hiking boots. And he's out there climbing mountains. He travels towards the kingdom of supreme bliss, wonderful summit mountain. He's up in the high territory. He looks out east, west, south, north, in between, southeast, southwest, northeast, northwest, above and below, looking for a teacher, the way a thirsty person seeks water, wants to find Bhadra Mega, right? Doyun Bicho. Takes 7 days, which is to say, for 6 days, he had thoughts in his mind, maybe I'm in the wrong direction. Maybe I shouldn't have gone south because I haven't found him. I don't know where he is. Where's my new teacher? I want to be a good student, but day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, I couldn't find him. Then on the 7th day, there he is on a distant mountain, strolling around. And what excitement. His second teacher, Manjushri being the first. So we saw the image last week where, hold on, notes, here we go. Here was the image. Here he is. And Sudana is on this mountain peak, and he's got to cross down into the valley and then climb back up to that mountain peak where Doyun Bicho is waiting. And good-looking monk. He's got his right shoulder bare. Now, remember, Sudana is what? Sudana is a layman. He's a young guy. He is not a monk. He is a pilgrim. He's a layman. But boy, does he have blessings. And that means that, first of all, when he shows up somewhere, the teacher is going to pay attention to him. The teacher is going to listen to him for his questions. He's going to give him a minute of attention. That's blessings. How sad if you get all the requisites and then you show up where the teacher is and the teacher's like just went for lunch and you have to wait outside, and then he comes back and you fall asleep because you've been exhausted. And then you wake up and it's in the afternoon and he's gone out for tea, or he had to go visit another monk somewhere, and you never meet him. That's not enough blessings. Sudana's got the blessings, so when he shows up, the teacher goes, who are you? And Sudana can request Dharma. So, right? Why am I talking this way? This is a real pilgrimage. He is really putting himself out there, hoping to meet his teacher. No guarantee. No promises. He's got to make the effort. He's got the instructions. And key, he's got affinities. Right? Yuan Fun. He's got the connection to meet these teachers. So, what followed last week? Well, he bows again to his new teacher with his shoulder bare, circles him 3 times to the right, and then says he stands before him. In the future, he will kneel sometimes with palms together, and he says, Venerable Sage, oh good sir, I have made the Bodhi resolve, but I don't know how a Bodhisattva xue, learns, practices, or xiu, practices, up to and including, and he says, Samantabhadras practices. I want that. I want to know those things. I have heard there's a word out there, the word on the street is that you're really good at guiding and teaching people. Will you compassionately bestow your wisdom on me so that I can learn how a bodhisattva gets the Buddha's enlightenment? Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Wushang Zhengdang Zhengjie. The highest, right, and equal proper awakening. That's what I want. That's what I want. What is this? Dharma request. Qing Zhuan Fa Lun. He's asking cloud of virtues to speak Dharma. He's clear, right? This is clear. That's what he wants. And he doesn't waste a word. This formula where he says, Da Sheng, I have made the Bodhi resolve, but I don't know how to xue pusaheng, xiu pusaheng. This comes out slightly different later on. He says, xing pusadao sometimes, how to walk the Bodhisattva path. Other times he doesn't include Samantabhadra's vows. Sometimes he doesn't include He doesn't say, I made the Bodhi resolve. The teacher has to ask him. He says that the teacher goes, oh, have you made the Bodhi resolve? Sudana goes, yes, I've done that. The teacher goes, good, all right. Now that I know that, we're ready. I can now teach you what I know. Okay? So this is the Dharma request. And it's, he says, I've heard you're good at it. Could you please teach me? So he is registered his interest with the new teacher. He's asked for the relationship to take place. That's key. And he's very clear. Here's what he wants. Okay? So we get to hear the bhikshu's reaction, his response. And that's where last week we heard what he said. The first thing he said was, oh, you made the Bodhi resolve, that's really good. And you've asked about that, that's really hard to do. And then he said 10 different reasons, 10 different things that are hard. And it's interesting that he's like pounding on that. To seek bodhisattva practices, that's hard. To seek the state of a bodhisattva, that's hard. To want to get out the way bodhisattvas do, that's hard. To be pure on the path, that's really hard. To seek the mind of the bodhisattva, that's hard. If you want the psychic powers of a bodhisattva, it's really hard. You want the Jietuomen, that word comes up later, liberation doors, it's really hard. To want to be able to appear in the world in a whole variety of ways, that's really hard. You want to accord living beings, super hard. You want the gateways to birth, death, and nirvana that bodhisattvas master, the ways of getting out of samsara, really hard. And then that last one, how you contemplate the conditioned and unconditioned realms and your mind doesn't stick, super, super hard, by the way, says the teacher. Okay, why did he do this? It's like, that's really interesting. It's kind of like he's just not discouraging him, but this is the first instruction he gets from his second teacher. And it's kind of like a douse of cold water in the face, splash. He doesn't say, oh, you're so wonderful, I'm so glad you're here, what a wonderful young man. No. He says, you know what you're asking for? Get ready. Get ready. This is tough. This is really hard to do what you're asking. Isn't that interesting? It's kind of like he's discouraging him a little bit, or he's bringing him down to reality. What do you imagine Sudana's state is? He's been looking for 6 days, and he climbs a mountain, and he sees he's over on that mountain. He's got to go down and come back up. What is Sudana's like? He's so excited to finally meet the teacher that Manjushri pointed him to. It's kind of like clouds of virtues has to calm him down a little bit. Because this stuff, in Chinese, the way it's this pattern. Qiu Pu Sa Qing Jing, let's see. He's all these nan zhong zhi nan. This is the difficult within the difficult, he says. To do this, ru shi zhi shi, to do what you're asking for, this is really important. It's really hard. It's really hard. And then we get 10. Qiu Pu Sa Heng, Qiu Pu Sa Jing Jie. Seeking these things, really tough. Really tough. So that's the first thing that we hear. In this relationship, clouds of virtue, bhikshu, has injected some reality. This is a reality check. Yeah, you think you know what you're asking for? Maybe you don't know what you're asking for, he says. Are you aware how hard this is? Okay, so Now, I wanted to share my side of my experience of this. We've said so far that this is all based on relationships. And it's, in this case, what is it? Teacher-student. Student-teacher. This comes up for review over and over and over and over in the Sutra, is how important it is to find a good teacher. Now, what I witnessed watching Master Xuanhua, I was beside him every day for 18 years, watching along with my Dharma brothers and sisters in the Sangha. We have 4 bhikshunis here in the room at the moment. There are 5 of Shifu's left home disciples here at the moment. The way a good teacher teaches depends on his or her relationship with you. Shifu taught lay people differently than he taught his monastic disciples. Why? Monastic monks and nuns gave up everything to follow their teacher. They gave up their identity as children of parents. They gave up their identity as parents of children, because now they got a different name. They don't raise their kids once they leave home. They don't support spouse or support a family once they leave home. You know what else they gave up? They gave up their kitchens. Monks and nuns don't have a kitchen where they go out and buy the food. And now, if you're working in the kitchen of the monastery, that's different. You're in the kitchen a lot. But if you're a monk or nun living in the Sangha in the monastery, you don't get to pick what you eat. You eat what appears. You eat what's offered. You're a field of blessing. How different is that than 99.9% of the world, where you are looking forward to your next meal and planning the menu, seeing what's in season, seeing what's available, seeing what you know how to cook, checking a cookbook, adjusting the spices and stuff. Very different, right? So that's different. Monks and nuns, in relationship to a teacher like that, the teacher's will for them is life and death in a real way. So that's, and it's been that way since the Buddha's time. The Buddha's Sangha lived 2,500 years ago in large part the way we live in 2024. Not different. We relate to a new name. We give up our name to be a monastic disciple of the Buddha. Okay, so suppose you are a lay disciple. Suppose you are a householder, a family man or woman, and yet you are devoted to the Dharma, to cultivation. Cultivation is a big part of your life. You take the precepts and reorient your inner code of behavior. For example, when you look at an animal, you don't think about eating it, for example. How different is that? You don't spend any time in the meat department at the grocery store. When you go to Woolworths, when you go to Kohl's, when you go to Kroger, when you go to Safeway, you don't hang out looking for the best cut of meat. You don't go by the fish counter looking for what's fresh. You don't have that relationship anymore. You close those doors so that your body is no longer based on flesh. Your body has become based on plants. Right? Yeah, different. So, those relationships now determine how the teacher teaches you. Where do you go for your instruction on Dharma? Look to your relationships. Where do you go for when you have spare time? Look to those relationships. Do you go to a Buddha hall? Do you go to a practice center? Do you go to a zendo? Do you go to a place where you're doing karma yoga, like a hospital or a clinic, to help others? These are all relationships that in the Mahayana are central, really central, but they're different. They're different depending on the level of connection you have taken to the Dharma, used largely through refuge and precepts in our tradition. If you take refuge, Gui Samba, you take refuge with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, you get a Dharma name, you go through a long ceremony. My goodness, our way of transmitting the 3 refuges is involved. It takes almost 2 hours to go through the ceremony. And that's different than the Theravada. The Theravada tradition, let's look at the Thai forest tradition, for example. They do the refuges often before a Dharma talk, right? Buddham saranam gacchami, dharmam saranam gacchami, samgam saranam gacchami, anatta tattivada theravada sikapadam samadhiyami, right? Get my Pali mixed up. So you do that for the duration of the talk. And hearing those virtuous sounds plant seeds in the mind. That's the way they talk about it. I believe it is so. Though that formula, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, first, second, third time to the Buddha I go for refuge, those are powerful vibrations. And in the Theravada tradition, you recite those before you come together with the monks and nuns. And people love to hear that sound. But there's no sense of when you stand up and go out the door that refuge has any hold on you. In the Mahayana tradition, we do it slightly differently. We do it so that it's a lifetime. From now on, we say, to the end of my life, Jin Xing Shou Gui Yi Fo, Jin Xing Shou Gui Yi Fa, Jin Xing Shou Gui Yi Seng, Jin Xing Shou Gui Yi Jie. I take refuge with the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha to the end of my life. And it's a formula. So that's our style. But there is a relationship there with you and the Dharma. Later on, there's an opportunity to say, to the end of my life, I will not kill. To the end of my life, I will never again steal. To the end of my life, I will never again behave in sexually irresponsible ways, sexual misconduct. To the end of my life, I will never again lie. To the end of my life, I will never dull the mind with any kinds of intoxicants or substances that harm wisdom. So that's a commitment, that's a relationship, and it comes from a teacher or several teachers when you do the ceremony, and it's a new orientation. From that time on, you are in line with Sudana, with Manjushri, with Cloud of Virtue, and this Mahayana teachings. Because why? From that moment, your life has a new center. And that new center is wisdom, the Dharma, and the community, the Sangha that goes back 2,000 plus years. There's a relationship there. And how amazing that for a layperson who is taken refuge and is following the precepts, they, from that moment on, can say, my compass in life is now, the needle is pointing due south. I am on the path to Buddhahood at that point. And this summer at City of 10,000 Buddhas, we are going to be transmitting the lay bodhisattva precepts, which is another level of commitment to relationship with the Dharma. How interesting. And people, after they've been through that week of connection to the lay bodhisattva precepts, will tell you that things changed. Things are different. It's like, almost like a, excuse me, it's kind of like a cloud parts, or curtain is lifted, and you're looking at the Buddha's wisdom with a new set of eyes, a new vision. And of course, all of the changes are internal, mind you. But once you commit in the formula, the traditional formula, to abiding by the new set of standards that the lay bodhisattva precepts present, this new opportunity to guide your words, thoughts, and deeds by wisdom and compassion, things are different. Things are different. You can't relate to the people in your life, the animals on the planet, the planet itself, the environment, in the same old ways that we did before, because you have a new set of guidelines. So how interesting, right? Now, as a monk, I took refuge in 1973. So 76, 70, 50, 51 years ago, I became a Buddhist in the formal way. Not a monk, but a Buddhist. And started out my relationship with this teacher. From going from layperson to refuge disciple to precept holder to bodhisattva precept holder to monastic, to monk or nun, the connection to the teacher deepens and becomes more serious. I'm moving towards, I want to tell you a story about I'll get better at explaining this new awareness that I have, explaining the Rufa Jepin about relationships, how the Mahayana is about you in the world, you among living beings, you and the Dharma. This is key. What's this? All this stuff about teacher and student, it has to do with passing on the Dharma. The teacher and the student relationship opens up an opportunity to connect to the Dharma. And the Dharma is what? It's wisdom inside that if we were entirely awake, it would be just like looking at your phone, looking at the monitor of the computer, looking at a book, looking at a newspaper, looking at a map, looking at the landscape through the window. It would be that clear. But because we aren't clean inside to that level, when we look at our nature, it's kind of cloudy, kind of clear, kind of misty, kind of overcast. I can't read it. Today I'm in a bad mood. I can't read the Dharma map inside, all right? So a Buddha is entirely awake to the infinite Dharma realm of their own nature and all the living beings of their nature. The Buddha is completely clear about that. Bodhisattvas are progressively more clear about it. We who are still living beings, still in samsara, sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's really clear, other times it's like, no, I can't make head nor tails of what to do, what to say, what to think, what to feel. And we, to the point where we go out and create offenses still, based on greed, anger, and delusion. But the more we cultivate and the closer we get to those precepts, the more the ignorance recedes and the more the wisdom grows. So you can experience that every single day. During a Chan retreat, oh my goodness, you really feel like, wow, I'm seeing my nature as never before. During a repentance liturgy, the Great Compassion repentance, there's really a sense of, I scraped away some of that caked on ignorance by bowing to the Buddha today and learning that mantra. The Great Compassion mantra gives us a sense of deep connection with the roots of compassion in my own nature. So, okay, this is the experience that I think many of us share. When we leave home with a teacher, we, what do you say? We put our lives on the line, yeah, in a real way. The teacher, if he's a good Kalyana Mitra, a Da Shan Zhishi, a true good and wise advisor, knows where you are in that relationship to him or her and to the Dharma, and can push you right to the edge of what you can take, and then pull back just a little, and get you to that place where you go, that's too scary, Shifu, I can't do that. And, oh, no problem, no problem. We'll try again later. Right? The teacher knows how to get you to that point without blowing your mind, without firing your circuits, melting your circuits, so that you can take the next step without retreat. Because the tendency is to retreat when it gets too tough. Now, after I did a pilgrimage, bowing to the Avatamsaka Sutra, I was invited to Los Angeles by Upasaka Helen Wu Guoxiang, along with Bhikshu Heng Chao, Marty Verhoeven, Professor Verhoeven. The two of us went down to the brand new Gold Wheel of the 6th Street. This is version number 3 of Gold Wheel Monastery. The third, we bounced around. Gold Wheel moved. And it was an old church on 6th Street. Doesn't exist anymore. It's been bulldozed and changed into a high-rise, steel and glass high-rise. But at the time, it was an old church in a Hispanic part of town. And Master Hua accompanied us down to Gold Wheel and said to ourselves, because it was Shifu, I could speak to him, and because Heng Chao couldn't speak Chinese, I was the translator between Marty and Shifu. And so Shifu gave us our instructions for what was going to happen at our first assignment, Gold Wheel. It's followed later by Gold Buddha in Vancouver and Avatamsaka in Calgary, and on. But this was the first time on our own, away from Shifu. We were going to stay in LA and speak Dharma. We were going to lecture on the Avatamsaka Sutra twice a day, after lunch, and then again in the evening, after evening chanting. Shifu said, all right, here's what you're going to do. Here's how you're going to speak Dharma. What I want you to do is, during the day, you can read the Avatamsaka Sutra, the commentary by Master Chengguan of the Tang Dynasty. You can bow to the Buddha. You can meditate. All the things that you do in your daily cultivation are all preparation for when it's time to speak Dharma. Now, do your preparation beforehand, during the day. That's what you're here to do. When it comes time to speak the sutra, explain the text, Do not take even one piece of paper up onto the lecture platform. Not even a single piece of paper. No notes. Lecture from your cultivation. You understand? We're like, Shifu, it's a 90-minute lecture, Shifu. What do you mean no piece of paper? Shifu, that means we can't, no notes? No notes. This is the way I do it. This is my method. I am transmitting my method to you. You have to cultivate. During the day, all of your practices give you a certain amount of samadhi. 有多有少, however much you have, however much you cultivate, that's how much samadhi you have. Your lectures come out of your samadhi. Sure, but we don't have any samadhi. Yeah, not easy, is it? I know that, but that's what you're going to do. Do you dare? He said. 你们敢不敢? Do you dare? Get up there on the lecture platform without any notes? And we're like, I can't believe what I'm hearing. Sir, but you're not going to push us up there without any notes, are you? That's the way I lecture. He said, why? Because it's fresh. It's based upon the sutra in front of you. The sutra in front of you is the raft that will carry you across the stream of affliction from this shore of birth and death to that shore of nirvana. The audience, the lay people, and if there's any sangha, the audience, their need to know what the sutra is saying, the sutra itself, which is the diamond raft, the Vajra priceless raft that crosses over, and your samadhi are the three components that will make the lecture fresh and worth listening to. If you go up there with notes, you're serving leftover food. It's got no flavor. Nobody wants to eat it. It's just words somebody else said in the past. It may not relate to what they need to hear at the moment. Do you believe me? Sherpa, of course we believe you. Of course, yeah, sure, Sherpa. Okay, go do it. But Sherpa, no, 90 minutes, Sherpa. Not easy, is it? This is my method. I transmit it to you today, he said. And walked away. We're like, did I hear that right? It's like, because, Marty, Bhikshu Heng Chao, when he left University of Wisconsin, he was in his doctoral program as a historian. He was investigating Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the New Deal, the political policies of the 1930s and 40s. He was used to books that piled up this high. He was a researcher, a historian, written records. Sherpa said, no, don't write it down. Can't write it down. You have to lecture from your nature in samadhi. And Heng Shi will translate for you. You lecture in English, he'll translate into Chinese. Of course, my Chinese was it was Yang Heshang de Zhongwen. Oh, it was broken Chinese. And these poor lay people had to sit there and listen to my broken Chinese. Marty speaks in complex sentences. He's a historian. His ideas come layers of ideas, and I'm there trying to translate into 他说这个华严经啊很复杂 and it's like they're like yeah I'm sure it'll be over soon and meanwhile we're trying to explain the sutra from our samadhi. Now, what did we have? Luckily, Shifu had prepared us without our realizing it by insisting that on the pilgrimage, every hour we stopped for 20 minutes and wrote a journal. We were preparing for our sutra, our future as sutra lecturers, without being aware that that's what Shifu was giving us. He said, those journals you wrote, that's your he didn't say meat and potatoes, that's the English idiom. That's your broccoli and tofu that will make the sutra come alive. That is your resource, your stash, from which you will make the sutra, help the sutra come alive, he said. And sure enough, we thought, oh, right. Marty and I had a stack of spiral notebooks this tall that were our journals from 2.5 years of bowing. And then even after we arrived at City of 10,000 Buddhas, we kept bowing around the Buddha Hall. Every hour we stopped and wrote down our experience, our feelings, our connection with the sutra that we were investigating at night. It says, oh, that's maybe why Shifu told us to write those journals, so that when it comes time to talk about what's happening in the sutra that we're explaining, we can say, oh, I remember, we were in Marin County when those guys came out and said those things. It's here in my, oh, okay. So in fact, we do have some resources to share with lay people that are our own and fresh. And they tend to come up at a certain point in the sutra. That's interesting, isn't it? How did that come alive for us at the right time? Thank you, Shifu, for preparing us with a stash of our own experiences that maybe can help lay people realize the sutra is there and available for them the same it is available for us. We don't often think of a book as being a living thing, but it is. The Avatamsaka Sutra is like a mirror that when you look into it, you get a reflection of your actual identity, deeper than the skin and the haircut and your expression and your mood and your feelings. The sutra is talking to us in a deeper place, and samadhi is not something you get, it's what results when you get rid of stuff that is blocking your vision of your own nature, which is the sutra. Samadhi is a result of reducing the affliction, the opinion, the ignorance on top of our nature. So samadhi is a deeper level of awareness that connects to the sutra in a deep way. That's why we do wan ke, ordinarily, if we lecture at night, at 6:30, so that at 7:30, time to listen to the sutra, we've been chanting the Buddha's name for an hour. I'm ready to hear the sutra deeper. Right? Oh, that's interesting. Shifu prepared us in that way. It's a relationship to a teacher. So my sharing that story with everybody about how when we got to Gold Buddha is an example of a good and wise advisor's doing something like outrageous. And all we had to do to break the relationship was to chicken out and carry notes up onto the stage. We never did. We never went up there because why? I was looking at Marty, he was looking at me. We heard what Shifu told us, and if we had carried up our notes, we would have broken the relationship. Shifu would have gone, no problem. Next time, tai lai. I'll try some other way to help you connect the sutra to your nature, to the audience. And because we were willing to do this impossible thing, you know what it's like to sit in front of 30 people when it's your turn to speak and you got 90 minutes to go? Here's what it's like. Nobody's talking. I gotta say something. 大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨，阿弥陀佛。哎呀，害死人了，吓死人了。Nobody's saying anything until it's your turn to talk. Oh, you better start talking. Okay, now what I think the sutra is saying here is, right? And you kind of dare, because that's Shifu's method. And pretty soon you realize it's not so much that the people in the audience are looking at you critically and thinking, he's not talking very well. It's that both of us, the person who is the lens, that is the monk or the nun who is speaking, is focusing the light of the sutra onto the lay people, so that your job as speaker is to help them connect the sutra to their lives. To the degree that I have made my lens clear, that's the degree that the lay people go, the Avatamsaka Sutra is kind of cool. Yeah, I kind of get it. I'm interested. That's interesting. I never had a 2,500-year-old book talk to me like this before. Right? And just by doing that and realizing it's not about me, the monk, oh, he lectures really well. No, it's not that. It's that I get out of the way so that the lay people can, so that the audience, lay people or monks or nuns, can connect to the sutra. They will connect to the sutra to the degree that I get out of the way. As much as I'm in the middle showing you how wonderful the sutra is, you might think, oh, he's kind of talks nice, but I missed the sutra. It's about the sutra. Oh, because why? The monk or the nun was able to polish their lens so that their needs, magically, in some incredible, invisible way, the Avatamsaka assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas speak to them. And you sense them there, giving you an access to the magic and the power of this wisdom and compassion that you never saw before, because it was just a book. But no, what do? We ru fa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa 7 times. That's called Ru Fa Qing Fa, asking for Dharma in the, as they say, in the way the Dharma works, Ru Fa, according to the Dharma. And then what? We acknowledged country, we did the bell song, we got ready, and then we put our palms together and we listened to Manjushri Bodhisattva send Sudana on the road to Duyun, Cloud of Virtues, and then Duyun says, okay, have you made the Bodhi resolve? Yes, I have. All right, good stuff. We're ready now. You know what? Bodhisattva path, it's really hard. I want you to know, it's hard. Bodhisattva path is really hard. And he gives him 10 kinds of difficulties that are ahead of him. And then what we heard today, our new text, was what? He said, I want you to know what I can do. Here's me. Duyun introduces himself. I want to introduce you to my new skills that you haven't met yet. He says, I've got, what's the first thing he says? He says, I've got 我得自在决定解力. That's the first thing he says. I have attained sovereign 自在 decisive 决定解力. This is my Dharma. From here on, so the pattern goes like this. Once De Yun accepts Sudana, what does he ask him? Have you made the Bodhi resolve? Yes, I have. Okay, you're in the door. I accept you. You have signed up. You have announced your presence. You've told me what you want. You're good. I accept you. And now I'm going to tell you what my curriculum is. I'm going to tell you what I teach. Ready? Here it comes, right? This pattern happens over and over and over again. Okay, so yeah, you've signed up. 你注册. Okay, ready? Here's what I've got that is different from all the others. Now, from here on, we stopped right here. Look at what he says next. I can see Buddhas. You know how many? Yeah, we get a whole list of the numbers of Buddhas that De Yun sees. To the point of seeing Buddhas as many as dust particles, right? We haven't touched this yet. We're going to do it formally. And he says, not only that, that's how many I see in the east, but in the south, the north, I can see Buddhas. I see Buddhas. And here's what they're like. He tells Sudana, this is what he can do. And when he's done, he says, but that's all. That's all I got. That's all I got. Other bodhisattvas, what they can do, I don't know. I have no idea. So, those bodhisattvas have incredible skills. Their methods, their faman, their Dharma methods, whoa. And he gives Sudana this long list of what's coming. It's kind of like a menu of an incredible restaurant. Here's what's ahead for you to learn, because this is what bodhisattvas do. 20. He gives him 20 methods that he can learn on the road ahead. Right? There is the method of mindfulness of the Buddha. There is the method of mindfulness of the Buddha. There is the method of mindfulness of the Buddha. Nianfo, 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 nianfo. But he says, how could I know about those virtues? I don't know that stuff, but you can learn it. Why? South of here is another kingdom. There's another bhikshu who I'm going to send you to. Go ask him. He will teach you. Here's what he's going to teach you. This is what's ahead of you, he says to Sudana. And Sudana, of course, is like, his eyes are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You're going to teach me. There's so much to learn. I didn't know what you were going to teach me. But I see all these Buddhas and all their methods. This is what I've got. Are you ready, young man? Right? Oh my God, Sudana is like, he doesn't know what to say. He's speechless because this is the real thing. This is a real teacher. It's a real teacher who's going to teach him the Dharma. And Sudana is like, I'm not so sure I was ready for what I signed up for. Oh my God. All right, OMG is OMG. Oh my God. Okay. He is like, got to go deeper to hold all this. He's got to increase his capacity to hold this. Because De Yun is an incredible Shan Zhishi. And Sudana is now really on the path. He's on the path. Okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is pretty exciting because Sudana's got to up his game to hold what is coming at him now. He's like opened the fire hose of Dharma, and the Dharma water is coming out intensely, and he's got to hold it. Where have we heard anything similar? I'll tell you where. Remember the sixth patriarch? Sixth patriarch. We'll try that. There we go. Sixth patriarch. Before he was the patriarch, he was the barbarian from the south, remember? And he met the monk who said, oh, if you go to Huangmei, you can, let's try it. Let me try it. It's fine. You can go. What's that? I got to share my screen. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Sam. Robe and bowl. There it is. That's what we want. Okay. Share my screen. There it is. Okay. So, the young man, layman, again, another layman, goes to Yellow Plum, to Huangmei. He discovers that the teacher there, Hongren Dashi, is going to pass on the Dharma. He's going to do what Doyun Bhikshu has just done for Sudana. And it's a poetry contest. And whoever gets it right becomes the next patriarch, gets the robe and bowl. Here's a relationship done in a very creative, interesting way. We realize, wow, so much of the Buddha Dharma that we know in the Mahayana has to do with these relationships, passing on the stuff to the next generation. So the song tells a story. Huangmei was the patriarch, held the robe and bowl, passed on from Bodhidharma generations ago. He wanted to hand them on, he felt the time had come. He made a poetry contest to try and find the one. Everything's a test, you know, to see what you will do. Mistaking what's before your eyes, you'll have to start anew. Here's the relationship working out. The head monk and all the rest of the monks. All the monks refused to write. They thought they all knew. The winner of the poetry slam would be a monk they called Shun Xiu. Shun Xiu was mighty nervous, thought he might not win. He knew he hadn't seen his mind, so here's what he turned in. The body is a Bodhi tree, the mind a mirror, stand bright. At all times wipe it clean, let no dust alight. Huangmei said, hey, that's pretty good. I think that you will find whoever cultivates that way won't fall far behind. Quietly he told Shun Xiu, this verse won't do. I know you haven't seen your mind, I can't give the robe to you. Okay, relationship, right? Everything's a test, you know, to see what you will do. Mistaking what's before your eyes, you have to start anew. Okay, the scene changes. Here we go. If this were a movie, this would be the young hero. Timothy Chalamet, right? Then out from the kitchen came a quiet young man. He had a drawl, he couldn't read, a southern barbarian. He said, I heard there was a contest, I thought I'd have a go. Southern accent, right? If someone helps me write it down, I'll tell you what I know. The body is no Bodhi tree, there ain't no mirror stand bright. Basically, there's not one thing where could dust alight. Ooh. The patriarch erased the verse, he shook his head, oh no. But then he tapped his staff 3 times, a kind of secret code. Deep in the night, the young man came to pay his respects. Wang Mei said, I was number 5, now you're number 6. You passed my test, you certified with wisdom, bright and true. Wang Mei said, this robe and bowl I now bestow on you. Your name will be Hui Neng, one able and wise. They're going to chase you, travel south, find a place and hide. Everything's a test, you know, to see what you will do. Mistaking what's before your eyes, you have to start anew. There we go. Alrighty. So, relationships. That when you look at that story, how many times have we heard this story? It's really true, isn't it? That it's about relationship between Master Huang Mei, the Master Hong Ren, and the future Master Hui Neng, the 6th patriarch, who is just a layman at the time. So how interesting. From this point of view, it's both the teacher and the student. The student has great ambition, has lots of fantasies about how wonderful it'll be to get enlightened. Yeah, and the teacher is thinking, I really hope somebody shows up because I don't want it to stop here. But it's got to be somebody who can hold the insights of the Dharma. If they still have self and others' rights and wrongs, if they still have opinions and ignorance and emotions and attachments, the Dharma it's like tea leaking out of a cup with a crack in the bottom, right? So it's definitely a two-way relationship. So, Sudana, now next week I have, even though I said Master Hua gave us this method of using no notes, which I practice to this day, at the same time, he consulted the traditional commentaries during the day, and in particular the Huayan Su Chao, and I have done so as well. There's a lot to be gained from Master Chengguan's insights about what's going on in Sudana and Cloud of Virtue, Sudana and Manjushri, the teachers and the students. So I will be contributing some of those ways of looking at the text for folks to pick up on as we go and to help the sutra come alive. Alrighty, now to finish today, I would like to open up our dedication of merit and invite everybody to please put your hearts into sharing the insights here, wherever you would like your merit and virtue to go into the world. This is another relationship. From my mind, from your mind, out into the world, as far as your mind can reach. That's how far this, the light of the goodness that comes, the fa, xi, the Dharma joy that comes from listening to the Sutra and connecting. The more we do it, the better we get at it, the more we can do it. So please make a wish. Here we go. As one and reign with life, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find giving unity, our minds away to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. And we'll finish up with bows to the Buddha, to our teacher. You're welcome to join. First bow, second bow, third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. That'll do it for us for today. We'll see you all next week. Amitofo. Bye, everybody.